In consideration of the previous track on 1977, A Thousand Scars, there was direct foreshadowing, explicit in the lyrics, something I've seldom seen in appearance on this channel, certainly when we've gone down full album coverage routes. But Fading to the Deepest Black, paraphrased a bit, that's what was prophesied to come next, essentially, in the track lineup. You hear it in the song, you're like, why does that ring a bell? Oh. And I have to say with this track as well, I hope it's good. I imagine it will be. This is SIRENIA, I'm regarding here. I do experience throwback vibes to other familiar music to me that operates by similar names. Let's say Falling Inside the Black, favorite number of mine from Skillet. American rock group, if you're not familiar, I imagine many of you are. I can't help but get a vibe here when I read the name Fading to the Deepest Black. It's quite similar. But I'm really curious to engage with it. As I said, of 1977, we are going on a full evolution exploration journey with the album. I promised you, not in those words necessarily on the outset, but that's what I had in mind. I'm sure many of you guessed. It's fitting. I've used the same pattern of discussion of other groups, so maybe it's kind of mainstay in the way I refer to things, even if I'm trying to be intentionally coy and surprise you. But the idea of enjoying an album of theirs together, and this being the first album in full that I've entertained, in a mutual manner, I couldn't ignore it, especially for someone like me who's been adventuring down the SIRENIA path for several months now with a selection of works. The attributions of them being a Norway-based European rock and metal group in the symphonic metal territory primarily, which I love both respects, both as a general metalhead by choice, and somebody who's deeply favored the journey, deepening my understanding of the European library, which you've never gone down that route before, I highly recommend. And if this is your first entrance with SIRENIA, get ready for an atmospheric thrill ride with a project that is maybe departing from some mainstay elements of theirs of sorts, though there are key SIRENIA attributes and characteristics that are appearing in a subtler manner on these pieces with consideration of some and dominance in others. There's a real fresh breath to this, a real pop punk rock retro vibe that's manifesting in a way that 1977 does come across as a bit of an independent collection, but I kind of find that experimentation, that adventurism, interesting. There are plenty of music groups and artists that from time to time have decided to, for whatever reason, mix things up, right? And SIRENIA just seems to be the latest one. But to showcase the variety here, and to experience that with you on Fresh Presence, means a lot to me. Let's humor the expansion of 1977 together, and let me make my continued promise to you that we would return to the album eventually, and that's what we're doing tonight. Now with Fading to the Deepest Black, the the seventh track we've considered together on this channel of the album, going on 11 in total. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the song, and we can be introduced to it together for ourselves. And if you're not familiar with the way I format coverage on this channel regarding music, lyrics are provided directly in the video feed, so if you want to read along with the narrative of the piece, as I will be doing myself, they will be provided there for you in the video and proceed alongside in time. All right. Okay, it continues the rough presence. Because there was a growth on the aggression with the last piece. I like the temptation. You think it's slower, right? It may take on more of a ballad effect, but then the percussion kicks in. Here goes the momentum. Piece has some edge to it. I like that triple pace pattern, and especially how Emmanuel's vocals and pacing are married. Nice change. There's a nice illusion effect that kind of takes place that disrupts the senses of following. And the percussion that mixes up, so it's kind of uneven in scope. Nice ticks. This piece again might have an edge, but it still has that general lightness of the album. Nice pacing here. Again, I love that uneven structuring. Even if it's just in the way that my mind interprets it. I really like the integration on the percussion. It feels fresh. There's that ticking again. And you have the keyboard effects in the background. Again, the subtlety of SIRENIA's numbers really impresses me here. It's different. This piece wavers a bit in mood. It's quite interesting, though. Now we're kind of getting that softer side.
Gathering storms, dark horizons.
Who's that singing?
I stare into times, wielding my
That's not Morton, I don't think.
wide open doors, lost corridors.
There's Emmanuel on the background. I kind of hear that effect. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. There's kind of, again, that deceptiveness of so. Is that Nils, or is that someone else? That's definitely Nils. You know, it could be a guest appearance of somebody that I'm not identifying at the moment. Although his voice sounds familiar on accent, whoever it was. And there's the return. You know, they've had collaborative one-off appearances in the past. Dindas of the Lore, for example. This is another example. The expansion. Interesting end choice, especially on the pattern of the chorus. I find the key choice and the simplicity, especially on the earlier lines, quite interesting, given some of the other chorus structures are a bit stretched out on preceding tracks. That song has quite an interesting life to it, doesn't it? It's very different. I like the key choice. It is a bit darker in presence. It's subtle, though. It's not like too dark where it fits in the more sort of metal direction. Although there is that... okay, let me rephrase. There is that metal foundation, but it's softer, right? And you know, in the metal scene, there is a divergence of tone, for example, right? And when it comes to the individual listeners, even in the metal scene, there's a wide, berth of preferences. Some people might gravitate more to the softer edge, and others might, like me, might go to the harsher stuff, sort of along the lines of, let's say with our earlier works of theirs, Into the Night or Queen of Lies, We Come to Ruins, even with some of the other songs on this album. There's an edge to this piece that I like. So the ferocity of it and the metal energy is not lost. It's just subdued, right? It's a bit more obscure in favor of providing, again, this... How do I phrase this? The atmosphere of SIRENIA and that key effect that they establish on illustration isn't lost at all. It's still contained, but it's traded for something that is of less expectancy. So instead of, harder numbers or anything of that type of dominant presence and edge, we get something much more breeze-like. It's softer. It's a little maybe more generally approachable, but it really has this pop rock effect and flair. Maybe this piece isn't... Well, no, actually, I'm going to say about this piece, too. There are specific pieces here, but like I said, and this is sort of a sentiment that I've seen expressed in other expressions of SIRENIA and philosophy of the album to some degrees, that there is an older feeling that might be evoked. I have said before, for me, it comes across as... I think I'm getting that right. Maybe I'm making, attributing statements that were incorrect. No, I think there was some expression, at least on one interview I saw, that there is an older vibe that is sort of made manifest in effect, even if maybe inadvertently by, again, the band's declaration. I have said with certain uses on the electronic technological integration with the synth application, that puts these pieces into more of a 70s to 90s style. Even on structuring, on feeling, like Deadlight, Wintry Heart kind of carried this effect. This one does too. Again, like I said on the synth use, although again, it's kind of tapping more so now into a modern rock feel. Maybe that's the idea of 1977. I wonder what that name meant. Maybe it is meant to kind of evoke a 70s energy specifically. I didn't think about that before. That's interesting, though. Like I said, there's a definitive mood being established that with 1977, from my experiences with SIRENIA, it feels a bit isolated. And I appreciate the divergence from the familiar to something that is of creative ambition and sufficient execution. In a way that, like I said, if you appreciate SIRENIA from a harder perspective, those elements aren't lost. They're just tailored and managed very differently. So this piece, again, your temptation is thinking, we're going to go soft now. We're going to have, a number that really, subdues the energy. But yet, then the percussion kicks in, and the guitar kicks in, and it suddenly gets this new, life to it that heightens, again, that pacing and that feeling. And that swing beat on the structures, how it's uneven. Well, okay, let me piecemeal this. When Emmanuel's voice kicks in, right, there's an even syncopation to her lyrics, kind of a triple step pattern that comes through. That's sort of like a 3/4 time, like waltz not waltz, that's too soft, but at least, well, I mean, like in terms of the 3/4 time structure, right? It's even. There's not much divergence, at least in articulation, but yet mixed with an uneven percussion that deceives the senses into, when you're trying to follow along a song, and so your brain maps out like a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 pattern. Suddenly the percussion comes in like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Kind of what I'm referring to. And there's different types of expressions that comes across in beat structures, but I found that quite inventive. That's more so, I think, a song that focuses primarily on Michael Brush's talents in the drum space, because most of the other songs have a mainstay feel, right? And each piece, I think, is fleshing out each contributing artist brilliantly. I mean, Morton Valand, obviously, Emmanuel, obviously, all the guitar instrumental breaks, perfect area for Nils to succeed, and he has. I can't wait to take a deep dive with him, too. I'm going to be considering some names that he's connected to as well from other efforts outside of SIRENIA, hopefully soon. I really liked being introduced to his talents. I love the guitar interludes. He's just so sophisticated as a guitarist, impressive talent to humor. This piece is no different in that respect. It's a piece of great standing individually as well, especially in presence of whoever that contributing vocalist is. If you know, feel free to clarify down below. That has been an appearance in the past. It hasn't just maybe been intersections on behalf of the Sirenian choir. You had, for example, with Dim Days of Dolor, a guest vocalist that came in for a clean vocal duality balance of Emmanuel. I don't know who this is. It could be anybody, really. Either way, it was a first introduction, really, for me. I'm just curious, though, that it has been credited anywhere else. Let me take a quick look and see. In Deepest Black, guest singer. Hang on, we're checking on this in the moment. Nothing listed as far as I can tell. If you know, feel free to contribute down below and save us maybe some time in search results, because I could spend all day on this and maybe nothing's been produced yet in declaration. It's a good piece on invention. Certainly, it following After 1,000 Scars, it has a good placement, again, keeping up that rock metal root vibe. I like that. And I'd love to hear your thoughts down below as well, in terms of how, we're halfway through the consideration of this album, but we've not entertained yet. So out of the 8 tracks that we had to wait for, apart from those preceding singles, we're halfway through the journey. What do you think of the album so far, for those of you who are taking the deep dive with me? Wherever you happen to be, as I've said, I hope there's a mixture of approach in how you come to this video, whether you be a longtime SIRENIA fan, or this is a fresh introduction for you. What are your thoughts on this piece, and where does it stand for you in regards to your thoughts on the album thus far? I'd love to hear about it down below. And if you can answer any of my questions in the realm of, who that guest guitarist, or not guitarist, the vocalist was, please mention down below. I like the name. I think the piece lives up to that. I really like the scope of it on instrumental side. It's a mesmeric piece to get lost in. I like the simplicity of the structure as well, with the isolation to focus on Michael Brush's talents in the percussion space and preserving that metal essence, but tailoring it differently. Again, like I said, it has such simple delivery, especially on lyrical construction. Those choruses don't take up much space at all. They're not stretched. It's just a quick dive in. But it's a fun piece to add into the album's lineup thus far. I love the tone of it. And it has a nice scope of storytelling that, again, SIRENIA always masters. I'm loving the journey thus far. As I said, it was my intention to proceed down the 1977 path and let this be the first full album that I've ever heard by SIRENIA. I'm not disappointed in the journey thus far halfway through. I can't wait to hear more, following after a fall into the Deepest Black. Another great piece to add into the lineup. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.